Okay, I invite you to come on back and sit down for a moment. Our morning musician this morning is Nathan Aswell, who's a good friend of mine from British Columbia. And he hasn't done music for us for a while, but he is doing a song pretty soon. Not the first one in the service, but he's doing a song pretty soon that's one of my favorites of his, so I'm looking forward to that. I want to tell you a little bit about him. He's based in Vancouver, BC, and his focus is encouraging people to live big lives, one small step at a time. So in September and October of 2019, he walked the Camino de Santiago in Spain, which is a 500-mile pilgrimage across Spain. He did that for his 50th birthday, I think it was, and he's writing a book about that experience. He also plays a very unusual instrument. It's called a Chapman stick. You can strum it, tap it, or pluck it. And he does all of those when he plays it. So you'll recognize that this is not an instrument you're hugely familiar with. You can find out more about that on www.stick.com. But Nathan's website, I think it's just nathanaswell.com. So he started offering during COVID morning musings every Wednesday morning at 9 o'clock. So you can go to facebook.com/nathan.aswell if you want to tune into his morning musings. So I'm going to invite you to please stand now as we begin to sing. This is a simple song. It's called Name It, Claim It. You'll figure it out right away.
Warm greetings, everyone. It's my great pleasure to be with you this morning at Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living. In honor of Reverend Mary's talk today about the power of declaration, I'd like to kick things off with a great song by Aaron McGon called Name It, Claim It.
Well, I name it and I claim it, and then I see it everywhere. Well, I name it and I claim it, and then I see it everywhere. Well, I name love and I claim love, and then I see it everywhere. Yes, I name love and I claim love, and then I see it everywhere. Because it's mine, 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 the endless and everlasting love of the divine. Oh, I name it and I claim it, and then I see it everywhere. Yes, I name it and I claim it, and then I see it everywhere. Because it's mine, 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 the endless and everlasting love of the divine. Oh, I name it and I claim it, and then I see it everywhere. Oh, I name it and I claim it, and then I see it everywhere. I see it everywhere. I see it everywhere.
All right. So we're going to hear more from Nathan later, and right now, I just want to invite you to go ahead and silence your cell phones so we prepare to tune inwardly now that we've sung together, so we've made ourselves all present in the room. Now we're going to go within together in that group consciousness. You too, Coco. And we're just going to settle deeply into our center right now. And I'm going to bring our morning prayer practitioner up, Reverend Judith Fleener, to do our morning prayer.
God, that power that runs through the rain and into the rivers and shines in the sun and dwells in the earth and the stars is the energy of life itself. All new beginnings, all activity, all completions is from this one universal source. This source runs in my veins. It enlivens my soul. It is the divine within and without. And with its words, it creates. The thought of God is the life of God. The thoughts that I share with God. And so when I speak my word, it is the word of God. And so I claim a shift in consciousness right now, that I remember that all the activity and the doingness of my world is God working through me. And that as I claim a shift, something new, a healing, a delight, it is mirrored with that word of God and in God's timing brought into form. And so I claim for each and every heart that is hearing these words, that whatever is heavy on the heart be turned over and allowed to move forward based on the declaration that is made by the individual who is making it. And so whether that be healing or a new relationship or harmony in existing relationship or new work, that God is in the activity, and that as we are creating together, God knows the perfect timing. And so it is important that I remember to let go and let God. And so for this wonderful morning together, where there is a slight break in the rainfall and the sun is peeking through, let this service go with ease and grace and delight, allowing each individual who is listening to this recording or here in the room with us today be touched in the way that is uniquely, divinely for them in the moment, in what heart is needing. And so I am thankful in this time for all the support people around this service, from those who are giving their energy to making sure the sound system is working correctly or the video is prompted, to the musician who's far away but took time to make recordings for us, and to our beloved Reverend Mary, that she step aside and let the divine speak through her the truth that she knows, that she is, and that she lives. And so for this, and so much for that the divine does working through me and through others, I just give thanks and I let it be, and so it is.
Thank you, Judith.
The next song is a special request from Reverend Mary. It's a song of mine called The Making of a Soul.
The making of a soul, the making of a soul. I'm busy with the making of a soul. I've come as a magician, an ordinary man, to make a contribution and be part of the plan. There is no destination, the journey is the goal. I'm busy with the making of a soul. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Busy with the making of a soul. Part of me's an artist, part of me's a fool. I have no map to guide me, there is no book of rules. The only thing that's certain is joy will lead me home. I'm busy with the making of a soul. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Busy with the making of a soul. The making of a soul, the making of a soul. I'm busy with the making of a soul. Lurking in my shadow are things I must reclaim. I call them out into the light and give each one a name. 'Cause everyone's a mirror that helps to make me whole. I'm busy with the making of a soul. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Busy with the making of a soul. The making of a soul. The making of a soul. I'm busy with the making of a soul. I'm part of God unfolding. I trust and fully give. All that really matters is that while I live, my gifts are what is needed. The universe is home. I'm busy with the making of a soul. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Busy with the making of a soul. The making of a soul. The making of a soul. I'm busy with the making of a soul. The making of a soul. The making of a soul. I'm busy with the making of a soul.
Woo! That song sticks in my head a lot. And since I'm getting ready to teach a class called Journey of the Soul, using a book called The Magic of the Soul, I thought it would be good to start off this morning with the making of a soul, which is kind of what we're in the process of doing in that particular class, is discovering the way into that balance between our humanity with all of its quirks and flaws and the spiritual truth of us, which is absolute wholeness, and finding the life that embraces both of those in the wholeness that we are. So I'm looking forward to that. That class is starting Tuesday. If you're not signed up for it, you should be. 2023, our theme is Live Out Loud, which also kind of goes along with that. It's the recognition that it's time to not be incognito. It's time to be visible, to take a stand, to be present in the world and let the world know who we are. And so this month, we're talking about roots and wings. So roots is the background, the basis of our science of mind teaching and belief. Wings are what we do with it. It's how we take it out into our lives and into the world, how we practically put it into use. So today, I'm talking about the power of a declaration. The words that we speak are a reflection of our thoughts and beliefs. The way in which our life out pictures is an expression like a mirror reflection of our thoughts and beliefs, what's inside of us. Years ago, when we were doing the on-course training for people in religious science, which was kind of like a personal growth training based on the science of mind, Michael Sun, one of the facilitators, said once, everything worthwhile happened because someone made a declaration. And so in the statement of something making a declaration, we are reminded of how we started off this month, and Reverend Lloyd was talking about how we live according to spiritual law. And so last week I was reviewing that a little bit and talking about the nature of the thing itself, which is the first chapter of the introduction in the Science of Mind textbook. Ernest Holmes is talking about God, but he wants to get us out of that idea of God, he, as a guy, a white guy, up in the sky on a cloud somewhere, just out of our vision. And so he refers to that presence with many different terms and words: infinite intelligence, creative law, divine presence, conscious mind, spirit, or sometimes he refers to God as he, and sometimes he refers to God as it, that creative presence, that creative law. But the thing about it that we believe, that most spiritual traditions of the world believe, is that this presence, whatever it is and whatever we call it, is everywhere. That it looks, and science is upholding this now, that it looks, as we look at the universe, as if it's one thing that's happening simultaneously everywhere. It's happening all the time. So there's never a moment when this infinite is not operating through everything that is. It doesn't sleep. It doesn't get tired or distracted. It's fully present in every cell in your body. And not just, the part of it, okay, we got a part of it assigned to this cell in Judith's body and that one in Jerry's. And so God is like spread out really thin throughout the entire universe. No. This is something that's even more weird than that. It is that the divine presence is 100% present in every spot at the same time. So every cell in our bodies is 100% of God. And this room, every place in it that you care to look, is 100% God at the same time. Now, we can't even really grasp that. So everywhere, all the time. It's also infinite, like endless. It's endless, which gives us the idea that the physical universe cannot possibly contain the infinite. So there's the physical universe that's 100% expressing God in every atom, but then there's whatever isn't in form, which we assume is much greater than what is in form, and that there's even more and more that we can't imagine. It's infinite. It's also eternal. It doesn't have a beginning. It doesn't have an end. It's always been. It's not going to. Ernest Holmes says in The Science of Mind at one point something about the length of eternity or something, as if it's related to time. But it's not related to time, because eternity is not a really long time. That's not what it is. Time only exists in form. So I can't quite grasp what it means, eternal, because to me as a human being, it seems like just a really long time. But it's something else. It's like a constant now, which is what we experience, except that it contains everything. Can't quite grasp that. Eternal, limitless. In other words, nothing that has happened limits this creative presence. It does not operate by precedent. In other words, principle, Thomas Troward would say, principle is not bound by precedent. So just because something has never happened doesn't mean it can't happen. Yes? Probably most of us have never won the lottery, the big, but that doesn't mean it can't happen. There's a movie, an old movie Paul Newman is in called, what is it called? Nobody's fool, yes, nobody's fool. And he always bets on the trifecta every week or something. He always bets on it, and he always bets with the same numbers. Always bets with the same numbers. And his landlady, every day when he comes in from work, she says, "Would you like a cup of tea?" And he always says no. And finally, one day he says to her, "Why do you always ask me that? You know, I always say no." And she says, "You bet on the trifecta every week, don't you?" "Yes." "You always bet with the same numbers, right?" "Yes." "Why do you do that?" "Well, I figure it's got to hit sooner or later." She said, "Fine, I feel exactly the same way about you." So just because it hasn't happened, it doesn't mean it can't happen. And when I say limitless, here's another thing that I mean. Because this presence, this creative law, is not bound by time and space, it isn't limited to chronology. Now, stick with me here on this. So for me, what that means is, if you're having surgery Tuesday morning, and I've said, "I'm going to pray for you before you go into surgery at 7 o'clock in the morning or something," and at 7:30, I remember that I was supposed to pray for you at 7 o'clock, or even better, if I remember at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when you've been out of surgery and in recovery, that I was supposed to pray for you at 7 o'clock, then I will pray for you for a successful surgery at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, knowing that because spirit isn't bound by time or place, the effectiveness of that prayer was available to you and to the surgeon at 7 o'clock in the morning. Because spirit isn't bound by time or space. So it's never too late to pray about something. Isn't that a mind blower? The presence is also unlimitedly powerful. I was in Practitioner 2 class. Now, I've been raised a Roman Catholic, so I learned all the omnis, you know, God's omnipresent, omniscient, and omnipotent, all powerful. But I was in Prac 2 before it really dawned on me that if all power was God's, and all of our creative energies are that use of that power, then it didn't make any sense that there really could be something like a devil, because whose power would that presence be using? And why would the infinite good be giving over power and competing with an entity that was created and was 100% an expression of the divine? It's like, that only makes sense if that infinite is kind of a sociopath and a little schizophrenic. And I didn't believe that. So I realized that you can't say God is omnipotent and say there's a power for good and a power for evil. Does that make sense to you? Do you understand what I'm saying? There's one power, not two. So all powerful and also all-knowing, which doesn't just mean that the infinite knows what you've been doing, like Santa Claus. Knows when you've been good, knows when you've been bad. What it really means is that within this infinite beingness is all potential for anything to be created or to occur. And that the knowing of how that unfolds and the potential for that exists in this one, even if none of it ever comes into being until many hundreds of years later. You know, in the 1200s, electricity existed. It was just that nobody had really figured out how to use it. And so they thought it was, you know, out of their control. And it was, until somebody figured out how to use it, but it was always there. So the power, the ability, the presence, the creativity is there, and we are learning how to use it more effectively. So that presence is everything that's in form. It is also everything that is not in form, or everything that is beyond form as well. So this is kind of a review of like the beginning of the month when we're talking about what is this infinite. And then there is the way in which that infinite brings forward into being, which I talked about last week, which is the creative impulsion that in order to be expressed, the presence in self-contemplating all of the wonders within it automatically manifests these things in form. And that because we are evolved to the point that we actually are aware of ourselves, that creative power also works through us, and we can use it intentionally to create more of what we want in our lives. It's always there, even when we feel completely victimized and like we have no power in a situation. That creative ability and presence is still fully 100% present with us. And when we grasp it truly, then there's no situation we're in where there are no options for us. They may be options we're afraid of. They may be options we don't want to take because we don't know what's going to happen. But it's not like there aren't possibilities available. So everybody's still with me so far? Okay. And so today, then, we come into the power of a declaration. Now, when we do our prayers in religious science, in the science of mind, in Centers for Spiritual Living, we do a prayer that always starts with God and recognizes that that presence, that unlimited presence, is what we're made from. It is, but it's also right here. And so when we pray, we're not praying to, we're praying from. So we don't ask, we don't apologize, we don't bargain, we don't beg, we don't worship per se, because worship is from something to something else. But if there's only one and it's everywhere, instead what we want to do is tune into it and speak from it. So we're speaking the spiritual truth, not the appearance of what's going on. We're declaring something into being that we're not seeing yet or we're not experiencing yet, but we know the potential for it is already there. The spiritual essence of it is already there. So we speak a declaration of the spiritual truth as if it's already available and present. We speak it as if it's here now, even though we don't see it yet. So we're using essentially affirmations, positive statements. Usually, people don't make declarations that aren't true. In other words, they aren't factual. But when we're doing affirmations, we wouldn't use an affirmation if we already knew it was there, because there wouldn't be any reason to. It's like it's there. But if I haven't seen it yet, then something in my own internal beingness needs to be expanded into embodying and believing that. And so I declare it with a sense of authority to allow it then to resonate to my words, to draw from that infinite through the creative law all the pieces and parts to manifest what I have brought forward. I heard a story about a woman who used to say to her little grandchild, "First see it here, then see it here, then see it there in the world." Just like the first song we sang this morning, name it and claim it. So when we speak, we say, I know, or I am, or I welcome, I embrace, I claim, I declare, I enfold. So when we make our statements of truth in the middle of the prayer, we're declaring this spiritual truth. I am whole, complete, and perfect, just as I am. That's the truth of me. Now, there are, millions of little things I could tell you that I would like to make different. If I look at myself or I think about my personality, or, there are lots of little things I could say, but this isn't right and that isn't right. So it's just like what I'm talking about with the class I'm going to be teaching. There's the spiritual truth of absolute wholeness, and then there's this journey of discovery and learning that is human life that requires that there's some place to go, so there has to be something to learn. I've told you the story about my son who does all kinds of role-playing games. And I asked him once, how do you create a character when you're doing a role-playing game? And he said to me, well, you always have to create a character that has some flaws so that they have things that they can learn as they go through the story. Because the storyteller, or I can't remember the term exactly now, but there's somebody that kind of sets up the parameters, who's like the story master, right? And then the characters begin to bring things into the story, but the story master can throw things in there too, into the mix that the characters then have to interact with. And Luke said, if you create a character that's too perfect, at a certain point, there's really nothing left for the storyteller to do but kill you off. So in order to have a long life in the game, you got to give this character some flaws so they can have some failures, so they can learn some stuff, so they have some place to go. Otherwise, this is the important part, otherwise, he said, there's no point in playing the game. So, here we are, whole, complete, and perfect. However, as spiritual beings having a human experience, we want some place to go, something to grow, something to create, something to learn. Otherwise, there's no point in playing the game. So here we are learning to use this creative law cooperatively. I mean, it's going to use us all the time anyway. It flows through us constantly creating more. And most of what's created through us is unconscious. Even those of us who are, in Centers for Spiritual Living, we're all high and enlightened. But we're still, most of the time, not creating consciously. So we're constantly trying to practice and really learn, what it is that we're here for. And learning is not always something that takes place in a hurry. So we are made from this, but we cannot contain what is not also in it. So if we have an experience of something, it's either something that exists in the whole, or maybe we're misinterpreting what it is that we're experiencing or bringing forward, because we're in this limited time and space, and therefore we can only interpret it according to what we already know, which leaves a lot out. I think about the guys in Apollo 13 trying to figure out how to get these two units of things connected to each other when they were created with entirely separate plans, which means that none of them were meant to fit into each other. It's like they have to take a bunch of stuff that's created for round connections and a bunch of stuff that's created for square connections and make them talk to each other somehow. Otherwise, they're not going home. So they've got to figure it out. It wasn't something they already knew or anticipated. They had to figure it out to get home. If you've seen Apollo 13, there's one scene that always just gives me the willies, and it's the scene where they're trying to figure out the trajectories to get these guys home, and all the engineers pull out their slide rules. And I think, oh my God, they were trying to figure all this out with handheld calculations, hand-done calculations. The room for error was not huge to get those guys back. It's a miracle, it seems to me. But we didn't know what we didn't know, so we manifested a miracle. We brought them home. Astounding. So there is a creative power in us that impels us to create. They say necessity is the mother of invention. It certainly seems to be true. We bring it forward because we have to. We bring it forward, and that creative power in us comes through us. So our prayer doesn't ask, it declares. Now, there's a little story about Ole, a fellow who was raised a Lutheran. He was, had Scandinavian roots. He was raised Lutheran, but he was in a community in the United States that was mostly Catholic. And during Lent, there was a certain amount of prayer and fasting and abstaining from meat during Lent at this period of time. And so whenever Lent was going on, people would be making fish and macaroni and cheese and stuff like that. But the neighborhood was greatly distressed because during Lent, they would smell this wafting of grilled steak coming through the neighborhood. And they figured out finally it was coming from Ole's place. And so the people went to their priest and they said, Father, have mercy on us. You got to do something about this. You got to talk to Ole, get him to stop cooking steak during Lent. It's killing us. So the priest went over and he did a long sort of conversion talk with Ole. And he convinced Ole to become a Catholic. So Ole came to the church on Sunday to be baptized. And the priest sprinkled the holy water on him. And he said, you were born a Lutheran. You were raised a Lutheran. But now you are a Catholic. And so everybody in the neighborhood breathed a sigh of relief. Now Ole was Catholic. It was Lent. He was going to be abiding by the same rules that they were. He knew what they were. And so, great, everything should be good. And then, the next night, sure enough, the smell of grilling steak comes wafting through the neighborhood. And everybody, including the priest, runs over to Ole to see what's going on. And as the priest looks through the fence before they get in there, he sees Ole with this little sprinkler of water, sprinkling the steak, saying, you were born a cow, you were raised a cow, now you're a fish. We have to learn the depth of what certain spiritual teachings are about. Sometimes we don't get it at the beginning. We're new, we're novices, we don't understand the whole relationship of the thing, right? And so in the book of Job, it says at one point, you shall declare a thing, and it shall be so. And in the book of Matthew, in a couple of different places, Jesus says to them, when you pray knowing that you have it and you will have the thing, whatever it is. So the message is that when you don't have what you want or need, and you want to bring that into your experience, you need to somehow make a declaration that is present from a sense of being anchored in a belief that that's true. It's almost like you have to do a self-hypnosis kind of a thing to do that. And it's not enough just to be able to say it with conviction, because the belief sometimes lags behind, like Ole. It sometimes lags behind a little bit, and it doesn't immediately show us and allow us to completely feel what it is we're trying to feel. So when we claim and declare something, believing it, we need to take time in that experience to feel what it is that we're saying, to allow it to become real in our inner feelings. We need to essentially embody it, wear it, live in it, become it, in order to attract it, in order for all of the things in the universe to line up for that to show up physically in form. We're seeing it here, we're seeing it here, we're seeing it here, and then. So we have to go through a process of deepening our faith about the possibility and presence of something in our lives. Now, it's easier, usually, for us because we can imagine, or we may know, someone in the world who already has that, or already experiences that, or already manifested that. And rather than being envious of them, what we do ideally instead is we recognize that if that's possible over there, it's also possible over here. And so we begin to know and embody, what does that feel like if that's in my life? What does that feel like? What doors does that open? What changes in me, if anything, when I respond to that? And those are important things to do, because sometimes you also recognize what some of the obstacles are for you, which is why that isn't in your life right now. For example, I was thinking about unlimited wealth at one point in time. I was thinking about what that would be like, unlimited wealth. So with unlimited wealth, I have the freedom to empower things that I want to empower. I have the freedom to live my life in the way that I want to live it, to travel if I want to do that, to decorate my home in a beautiful way, to give to charities that I believe in, to have the freedom to learn in ways that I want to learn. Now, the downside then might be that once I now have all this, then I become a target for thieves. Or people come to me wanting me to serve on all their boards because they know I have money to give. Or they just flat out ask me for donations, big donations, or friends and relatives who are in difficult situations or who think they have brilliant ideas come to me and ask for me to fund that for them. It opens the door to a whole lot of asking and a whole lot of needing to have good boundaries and good self-esteem in order to choose where I want to say yes and where I want to say no. Are you with me here on this? And I might not want to do that, or I might not feel like I'm strong enough to say no to people, and then, I might become resentful because I didn't say no when I should have, and now I have to do this and I don't want to. Do you see? So there are all sorts of obligations and possibilities and duties and options that come with that empower me to have a bigger life and require more of me as a good steward with good boundaries to be able to say no. And either not give an excuse or say, no, I don't want to do that. I'm not comfortable with that. No. As lovingly as possible, which is a whole nother skill, to say no with love without being resentful or mad that somebody asked. Are you with me here? So we can see that those things, when I open my awareness to what it feels like to have unlimited wealth, those things might be things that I go, oh, I'm not ready for that yet. That's why I don't have unlimited wealth, because I can't make a space for that. I grew up in a family that was kind of probably lower middle to middle class. And what I didn't realize that I've become aware of as I've gotten older is that people who grew up in very privileged circumstances are in a particular grouping kind of socially that requires a lot of them in how they look and what they do, who they associate with, and who they can marry. And that is very limited compared to average people who have a lot more freedom in that. Maybe not total freedom, but more. Is this making sense? So when we want to claim something in our lives, we really need to take it in and embody it so we get a sense of what benefits am I willing to welcome, and what am I willing to do to manage the responsibilities that come along with this greater good in my life. If I've been sickly all my life and I want health, then I might have to think about, what does it mean if I don't physically need people to help me anymore? Would anybody pay attention to me? What does it mean if I'm strong? Can I never complain about anything that happens to me again? What would I talk about? So there's a whole lot for us to unpack about anything that we feel we want to draw into our lives. And we want to take it in and embody it, feel it, play around with it. Is this really what I want? Sometimes in the process of doing our prayer work for some experience or thing or something we want to be or become in our lives, we discover, now that's something I never thought about before. Do I still want that experience, given that it's probably going to come with that? And if I don't feel like I'm ready for it, then what I might do is I might do prayer work for myself to get ready for that. Do you see? To help open the space for that within myself so that I'm more ready to make a shift. So we want to create in consciousness and in our inner experience what it is that we want to see in form. We're creating it here, here, here first. So we name it and we claim it. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, says, if we've had a negative thought, if we've had an experience that's negative, we know that the reason that that came into our experience, and this is an oversimplification, but still there's truth to it, the reason that came into our experience is because of some limited belief we have that we probably don't even know we have. And with that limited belief, there was a space for this to come in. So if a negative belief has created a negative experience in our lives, the way we reverse the negative condition is to pour in an opposite belief, an opposite thought. And that's where our affirmations come in. That's where our denials come in. So an affirmation is a positive thought that we state affirmatively to bring something into our experience that we don't already have. A denial is not the kind of denial they talk about in a 12-step program. So it's not like saying, I'm not bald. I'm not, but if I were. It's not like saying, I'm not bald, or I'm not short, or I'm not, That's a denial of something that people can obviously see that that's not really true. Physically, that's pretty obvious. It's not really true. Or I'm not really, a drug addict or an alcoholic or a gambling addict or whatever it is. That's the kind of denial, oh, I don't have a problem. No, I'm fine. That's the kind of denial that we talk about in 12-step programs. It's nobody who's listening to you believes that if they know you. But you may have convinced yourself that it's true. But clearly it's not showing up in your life. So that means that your declaration is not really backed up by the power that is available, okay? So when we use an affirmation, we're making a positive statement of something we want to bring into our experience. When we're using a denial, what we're doing is we're saying to that fear, that doubt, that skepticism, that worry, that's fine, you can hang out right over there if you want to, but what I'm telling you is, you no longer have any power over me at all. I am unplugging from you. So, when you see certain sentences written by Ernest Holmes where he uses the word no, or not, or never, sometimes those sentences are denials. There are no mistakes. That's one of the denials that he uses. So when we look at our lives and we think of all the times that we've screwed up or hurt somebody's feelings or something, so what do you mean there are no mistakes? Well, in this infinite system that we're in, this universal presence system that we're in, every screw up we think we made actually had a purpose. And it had a purpose that allowed us to learn something, or offered us the opportunity to, or maybe allowed us and somebody else to learn something. And from that standpoint, it wasn't a mistake, you see. So when you say there are no mistakes, then you follow that up with affirmations, because you don't want to just clear something and then leave a space, because then all your other doubts rush in and fill in for you. So you want to make an affirmation that you declare clearly, and then if you have a lot of doubts about that affirmation, like if you got the yeah buts going in your head after that, anybody ever have yeah buts? Like, oh right, yeah, well you never did it before, makes you think you're going to do it now. We get those voices in our heads like, oh right, here we go again. All that cool cynicism comes up. And so we can hear that and go, okay, yeah, I know you. I know you. You're the doubter. Okay, Thomas, doubting Thomas. You go sit in the corner over there. That's fine. Doubt all you want. But you are not making choices for me. Do you see? You have no power over me. It's over. I am not giving you the steering wheel. That's what the denial is for. So we declare our affirmation, and then if we have doubts, we declare our denial. It's like, no, stop. And you can do that sometimes with your mind when you get into this rumination that all of a sudden you're aware that these negative thoughts are going on, like you're either criticizing yourself or somebody else or the situation or God or your job, you know. And when that's running, sometimes you just go, stop. Just stop. I am not listening to this. This is only making me unhappy. It's not the truth. I am going for the highest truth I can think of in this moment. It's not that, it is this. And then you fill in with the affirmation you want to fill into that place. So you want to feel your acceptance and let the denial stop your doubts, or at least unplug from them for the moment. Everybody still with me here, right? We want to be able to say, you have no power over me. And we want to be able to feel our acceptance. Now, today is Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. And I learned yesterday something about the speech that he gave in front of the Lincoln Memorial to the tens of thousands of people that were gathered at the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, I think it is. And what happened was Mahalia Jackson was there, and she sang some traditional spirituals, which just, put him in this place for him. And when she sat down and he got up to speak, he had his prepared notes, and he gave quite an eloquent beginning, speaking about being at the Lincoln Memorial and what that president had done, and now what was going on in the country. And Mahalia Jackson called out to him, "Tell him about the dream, Martin. Tell him about the dream." And he set aside his prepared notes and he said, "I have a dream today." Now, he was not speaking about the world as it was at that moment. He was declaring into being the vision of the world he wanted to see. And he was declaring it in a way that was so eloquent and so compelling and so evocative of images and places and experiences that the people who were listening to him were mesmerized. And it has become one of the most important speeches anybody ever made that we know of. I have a dream. I have a dream that one day my 4 little children will be judged by the content of their character rather than the color of their skin. And then he calls forth all the parts of the country. Let freedom ring from the mountains here. Let freedom ring from the valleys there. Let freedom ring from coast to coast in the oceans and the cities. And then, he says, at the end, we'll be able to, all of us, of every race and creed and color and nation, be able to say together in the words of the old spiritual, free at last, great God Almighty, we are free at last. Now that's a declaration. So this is the way we want to speak when we pray. We want to declare into being a greater truth that reflects the spiritual essence that already is in the mind of God, and therefore is right where we are. We want to declare that into being in our experience, in ourselves. We want to feel it. We want to embody it. We want to live from it. And no matter how long it takes from that moment, that manifestation is set into motion. Martin Luther King's vision, he's been gone almost 60 years. That speech, within a short time, that same year, after that speech, he was assassinated. But the vision is still unfolding. It's still evolving. It's still being called upon and recalled, just like this morning. So as we honor the birthday of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., we also recognize that that courage, that power of declaration, that willingness to embody a big vision, that was not unique to him. That lives in every one of us. So let's begin to look for the highest vision we want to manifest and declare and feel and know from our inner being that it is the truth now. And so it is. Thank you. Thank you. All right, so let's take this within now. And as you close your eyes, let's remember first of all that the infinite presence is all that is. God bless you. It's all that is anywhere or ever has been. It's all around us. It permeates the entire universe. It is always awake and aware, and it is infinitely loving. Infinitely loving. Not only is it all around us, it also is what we have been woven into being with. It's what we're made from. And there is nothing in us, nothing real in us that is not completely that divinity. So regardless of what we've done or how it's looked in the past or how it looks right now, regardless of what we wish were different or any of the judgments that we have or our opinion of ourselves, this is still the truth of who we are. The ultimate truth that the infinite has never forgotten. So I know for us, right here, right now, that there is an opportunity opening for us to be lifted into a higher experience of the divine in our everyday lives as we set the table, as we scoop the litter box, as we walk the dog, as we welcome the kids home, as we go to work, as we watch our favorite television show. That the spirit that never rests is the essence of who we are, and it is being felt within us, bringing us into greater alignment and harmony with what we're made from, making the crooked ways straight, bringing forward into our hearts and souls the truth, and allowing us to live from the fullest, deepest, richest place of love, freedom from fear, freedom from doubt, with courage, with optimism, with inclusivity and peace. We want this. We are this. We claim and welcome this. We allow it to take root in our awareness, in our beliefs, in our essential energy, and to sustain us in our lives now. We're grateful to take this forward from this moment into this week. We remember the word or phrase that we were called to, the image or symbol that we were called to last week. Just tap yourself on the chest to let yourself re-anchor whatever that was, or to invite it again if it's slipped away. We accept this good now with such gratitude. We let this prayer go into that creative law of mind and spirit where it is already actively bringing it into being. And we just let it go. In complete trust and faith, we let it go, we let it be. And we say together, and so it is. Yes. So I invite you to stand and join me now in this morning's affirmation. Together we say, I affirm the highest truth I know. I trust in creative law to manifest this truth. I know there is no power outside of the one presence. And so it is. Yes, I invite you to take a picture of that, take it home with you, use it this week. You may be seated. And I want to invite the ushers to come forward as we prepare to receive the Sunday offering. And we bless the Sunday offering, everything that we're giving in this room, but we also want to bless everything that we're giving anywhere and everything that Golden Gate has received throughout this past week. Now, if you want to give from your chair right now this morning, you can also give using our text number, which is 415-779-7613. You can text right from your seat to give that way, or you can give via PayPal or from the website, or in any of the other ways that you typically give. But whatever we do this morning, we want to bless it. So I invite you to join me in the offering blessing. And if you have your gift with you this morning, hold it over your heart. Or if you're giving it with a loved one, hold it in your hands together. And we say this together out loud. This gift I give is God in action. I now send it forth to bless and to prosper. I know that everywhere it goes, it is creating a world living in love, one heart and one thought at a time. And so it is.
I say yes, yes, to the thing itself. Yes, yes, to the way it works. Yes, yes, to what it does. Yes, 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 to how to use it. God, Spirit, that's the thing itself. Cause of all creation, origin of everything. It's what makes me sing. Powerful foundation. Whatever I'm doing, wherever I'm going, it's the voice that whispers in my ear. I say yes, yes, to the thing itself. Yes, yes, to the way it works. Yes, yes, to what it does. Yes, 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 to how to use it through me. That's the way it works. Principle in action. Limitless is what I am. Yes, I know I can live in satisfaction. Heat in the car, having it all. Peace of mind is mine. I say yes, yes, to the thing itself. Yes, yes, to the way it works. Yes, yes, to what it does. Yes, 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 to how to use it. The channel is wide open, the circuitry divine. I'm focused on the positive, and that's fine.
You can jump up,
I demonstrate abundance and manifest the proof. Immersed in love and wisdom, surrounded by the truth. And I say yes, yes, the thing itself. Yes, yes, to the way it works. Yes, yes, to what it does. Yes, 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 to how to use it. The channel is wide open, the circuitry divine. I'm focused on the positive, and that's fine. I demonstrate abundance and manifest the proof. Immersed in love and wisdom, surrounded by the truth.
Yeah.
And I say yes, yes, the thing itself. Yes, yes, to the way it works. Yes, yes, to what it does. Yes, 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 to how to use it. I say yes,
Yes.
to the thing itself.
Yes. Yes.
To the way it works. Yes,
Yes.
to what it does. Yes, 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 and how to use it. I say yes, yes, to the thing itself. Yes, yes, to the way it works. Yes, yes, to what it does. Yes, 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 and how to use it.
Woo! Thank you, Nathan. All right. So we do, all of us here in this room, on behalf of Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living, accept the offerings. Accept them fully with love, completely, and we send them out into the world to bring forth the highest vision in the hearts of all people everywhere. And so it is. So if you're with us for the first time this morning, you want to head back to this table right away after the service and pick up a welcome packet. It has information and goodies in there for you, and you're also welcome to pick up all the other info that's on that table back there and take it with you. There is in the packet a blue card like this that says welcome on top. If you fill this out and turn it in at the back table there, Amanda is going to give you a little book. And it's a little book that's our gift to you as a thank you for being here and also as an enticement to you to come back for more. It is filled with affirmations you can use at any time to help you find your way back to the spiritual truth. All right, so we're delighted that you're here. We hope to see you with us often. And I want to take a moment to thank everybody who was here this morning to help us set up, because our dear Jim Homa, who's here every single Sunday at 8:30 in the morning, and has been for the last 1,000 years, had a day where he had to do something else today. And so Frank had Jim's 14-point checklist, and everybody got up and they did the thing and they got it all set up. They didn't set up the art show, though that was already here. But they did a great job, and I want to thank them all. So let's give everybody a hand. And I want to draw special attention to this altar over here that Jet Walker did this morning. This is a sculpture of hers called I Got My Act Together. And she is definitely making a declaration. So you want to stand up here and have a look at this woman on the altar this morning. Nice work, Jet. That's really great. I love it. A couple of things are coming up that I want to invite you to participate in. As I said earlier, my class is starting on Tuesday. And it's only 6 weeks, and it's all on Zoom, so you don't have to leave your house. But it is a combination of our New Thought teachings and spiritual psychology, so that we are anchoring in the spiritual truth of wholeness that we know, and finding ways to look at our human experience that allow us to practically apply spiritual teachings to it without getting freaked out by what it shows up like. In other words, shifting our perspective about that stuff and giving us meditations and practices and opportunities to do that in all sorts of ways. So if you've thought about taking it, the only requirement is that you've taken Foundations class already. There's only one book for it called The Magic of the Soul, and you'll get your student workbook and all that. So you can sign up at the back table this morning if you're interested. You can email administrator@ggcsl.org and let Sonia know that you're interested. Or you can go on to our website and register. Just go to the events and classes resource tab, and on there you'll find the registration page. Also, our dear Leslie Giannetti is going to be leading 2 workshops, one of which is next Sunday. And they're based on the work of Joel Goldsmith. Next Sunday's is There Is No Age in the Infinite, so there is no age in you. And it's going to be at the Learning Center in San Rafael, our Learning Center, live in the fireside room, down there from 1 to 3 p.m. on a love offering basis. So you can sign up at the table back here on that sheet to let Leslie know how many people will be there, because she may have handouts. So if you think you might want to go, sign up and then go. Also, the Women's Drumming Circle is coming up this Wednesday night. So this Wednesday night, I have the visioning meditation online on Zoom. And if drumming is your form of meditation, ladies, for those of you, guys, sorry, this isn't drumming for you, but the Women's Drumming Circle is going to be taking place Wednesday night over at Unity in Marin, and it is from 7 to 8:30. You can come even if you don't have a drum. And the chanting is led by Karen Drucker, and there's a professional woman drummer there who leads the drumming. So I invite you to do that as well. We are doing another meetup and cleanup day. If you want to do that, it's just 2 hours on Saturday, this coming Saturday, from 10 a.m. to noon. And you get all these goodies just for showing up. You get your gloves, you get your bags, you get lunch. You just have to bring your own water. And you meet in the Target parking lot in San Rafael, and everybody will meet there and go from there. And if you have any questions about it, I want you to talk to Deborah Irwin, who is our Leadership Council Secretary. She's in the far corner. Would you stand up for a second, Deborah, so they can see you? Talk to Deborah if you have any questions about it, and she can tell you more about it. Okay? All right. So I'm going to invite the practitioners now to surround the room. I know I went long this morning. I kind of, just, my shoes were on fire, so thank you for bearing with me. We're going to do our closing prayer together this morning, and all of our practitioners who are, many of them are wearing their stoles this morning. These are our licensed practitioners. They go through quite a process to learn how to be practitioners, and many of them have been practitioners for more than 10 years. So over at the table here following the service, we have Joyce Thompson and Selma Bomfim, who will be over here. They will pray with you this morning. If you want a personal prayer, you can go to them. And we invite you to take advantage of that wonderful gift, okay? And they're all available. All the practitioners are available for private sessions if you want to do that. So let's turn within. In this infinite presence of oneness, we feel the energy of the love established in this room here this morning. We allow it to come in, to meet those places within us where love has been missing. We welcome this love. We let it fill us up so that we carry our good out into the week and let that love radiate out from us everywhere that we go. We're grateful for this opportunity and for this morning. We let this prayer go with love, and we just let it be. And so it is. All right, I invite you to stand and join me now for the benediction and the closing song. So this benediction we will say together. I now walk, so that whoever walks beside me dwells in the presence of God, and whoever places a hand in mine is lifted, and whoever thinks of me is illumined with God consciousness. For spirit and all people and I are one eternally, and so it is. Closing song, here we go.
Thanks very much, everyone, for being here this morning. I'd like to take us out with an up-tempo version of a great song by Daniel Nahmod called Higher Place, Up, Up, Up.
Up to a higher place. Up, 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 far beyond this time and space. Up, up, up to a higher place. I feel my soul rise into a higher place. Higher place, a higher place. I feel my soul rise into a higher place. Higher place, a higher place. I feel my soul rise into a higher place. No more forward, no more backward, no more spinning around and around. My life is moving ever forward. My feet are leaving the ground. Up, up, up to a higher place. Up, 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 far beyond this time and space. Up, up, up to a higher place. I feel my soul rise into a higher place. Higher place, a higher place. I feel my soul rise into a higher place. Higher place, a higher place. I feel my soul rise into a higher place. No more downward, no more darkness, no more wondering the point of it all. My life is destined, don't for greatness. My soul has answered the call. Up, up, up to a higher place. Up, 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 far beyond this time and space. Up, up, up to a higher place. I feel my soul rising to a higher place. Higher place, a higher place. I feel my soul rising to a higher place. Higher place, a higher place. I feel my soul rising to a higher place. Higher place, a higher place. I feel my soul rising to a higher place. Soul rising to a higher place. I feel my soul rising to a higher place.